All right, we're back. Ladies and gentlemen,
Different cup.
non-conforming genders. Welcome back to our discussion. Abby said she wanted to talk about BLM,
I didn't say that.
so we're gonna have a little discussion on the old. What does BLM stand for, Abby?
Black Lives Matter.
Was that a question? Say it one more time, please.
Black Lives Matter. It's better.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about Black Lives Matter, Abby.
What is Black Lives Matter?
Yeah, what is it?
Explain it to
You
us.
posted hashtag Black Lives Matter. Can you explain what you're posting a hashtag about? Do you understand what it is?
Oh.
This is on
You're talking about black dogs?
this is
No,
this is
black people.
Black people, what about them?
This is on Ari's, for reference, this is on Ari's, she retweeted Ari's post about Colin Kaepernick, and hashtag BLM, which stands for Black Lives Matter and also Bureau of Land Management. So what does Black Lives Matter mean to you, Abby?
To me. So I feel like lots of black people is being unfairly treated
By who?
by white people. By all by society.
In particular, any group, Abby?
Kind of.
Yeah, who?
By white people.
Well, in particular, what group of white people? Let's say people. What type of people? I think you missed.
High class.
You kind of missed the crux of this. Jordan, you wanna take over?
This is a very complicated issue. All right, Black Lives Matter has been around for a few years now.
A few hundred years.
Few hundred years. Well, I mean, realistically, it has. I mean, it's been around for hundreds of years, in a non-formal sense. I mean, it was created by a group of black women,
Whoa, I didn't know that.
basically trying to fight against racial injustice in America. But yeah, in a sense, it has been
I didn't
from
know it was 15 years old.
from the beginning. Yeah, because it started, of course, like most grassroots movements, it started small, but it definitely the idea of it started a lot longer ago. I mean, you can read
W.E.B. Du Bois.
Du Bois, W.E.B. Du Bois, or you can read
Malcolm Z.
you can read Malcolm X. You can read all these people, and they're much more. It's it's varied. You could say Martin Luther King is part of Black Lives Matter. It's basically Black Lives Matter is just an extension of the Black Freedom Movement, which has been going on for essentially forever. I mean, even within
American history.
yeah, of course.
The concept of black, I think, is in the context of American history more than anything else.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, because even if you go to mainland Europe, the ideas of blackness and things like that are different. I mean, I'm sure there's that, of course, still there's still racism, of course, and there's still subjection and stuff. But yeah, the idea of blackness is very particular in America. It's different than a lot of other places. So you've had people, even since the times of slavery, pushing against this, and then of course, the farther you move from that, the more open those voices are able to become. Because obviously under a system of slavery, it's much more difficult to raise your voice up, because that could result in your torture or your death. But yeah, Black Lives Matter started in about 2013, especially around, it grew especially around events like
Police shootings.
That's
most of us know.
Is the big thing, yeah, and of course that's what pretty much everyone can identify with.
Have you ever been a police officer, Abby? Have you ever been threatened by a police officer?
No, never.
That's a maybe.
It's because
She's nodding her head, maybe.
It's because you live in Taiwan, and Taiwan is much more. The police are much friendlier in Taiwan than they would be in America. For the most part.
They won't threaten you.
Huh?
Sometimes I feel the Taiwanese police they are weak.
They're weak. Sometimes they're
Do
assholes.
you want police to be super strong?
Not super strong, but you have to be strong.
Why? How so? What is
It's got a
strong?
masculinity complex.
Yeah. What
They
is
need
what
to be
is
strong so they can pick me up.
what's a police officer being strong mean?
They have to be able to
Push a cow over in a field.
catch criminals or
They catch a lot of criminals. What?
Yeah, I mean, what are you talking about?
Yeah. What? Be more specific.
I think
any size police officer can do that. Any strength. Women police officers.
They have guns. So what
They
do you
have tasers.
what do you mean by strength? Do you mean physical? You obviously probably don't mean physical strength.
Do you mean mental strength?
Not like mental strength, but I just feel like Taiwanese police sometimes they are being too nice to those criminals, or
I
when
think.
they're like, yeah,
Abby, you know.
Go ahead.
when they're like going to like catch some criminals or like thieves or something, they're just like it's kind of like being too nice to them, too kind to them.
You want them to beat them up?
Not like beat them up, but
Just give them a bruise or two.
Put them in the back of a van, handcuff them, and
Kinda knock 'em around a bit.
let them bounce around like.
something
Whoa,
like
whoa.
that.
Are you serious?
Jesus, Abby,
Are you joking?
is that serious or is that a joke?
That's a joke.
Okay, so what do you mean, Abby?
Yeah, you have to clarify your words. You can't just say you want them to be strong because the U.S. You could say the U.S. police are they're strong. Ooh, they're so strong.
Yeah, they
but
kill
what do they
people
do?
all the
They
time.
kill people all the time, and they put people like Alton Sterling in the back of a truck, like what I just said. Or put someone in the back of a truck and bounce him around a little bit. They put him in the back of a truck, bounced him around, and he broke his neck and died. Is that acceptable to you?
Of course not.
Yeah.
It's
So
not legal.
so what?
Of course not.
But
Well-
no one got charged. So is it legal?
Why?
Kind of. It's
Because
kind
it's
of
an
legal.
accident, technically.
Because it's finger quotes an accident. So what do you mean by strong? I think the police here are fine. What's wrong with them? What do you want?
Do
how
they
you-
not catch criminals? You're saying they're like, oh, I'm gonna catch you, and then they just kind of let them go? Is that what you're suggesting? Do they let criminals go?
No, I know a lot of police that in Taiwan they were, how to say that they're being, like someone will like give them, or like some rich people or something they'll give them.
Well, they
lots
take
of
bribes.
Oh, that's the
Yeah.
same. The U.S. is exactly the same. Look at all the bankers on Wall Street. They didn't go to jail. Like it's not the.
I don't know. Are you suggesting that there's actual police corruption? Where
Are they
like-
actually taking literal bribes?
Yeah, because
or-
I don't think that really takes place much in the U.S. Do you think it really takes place a
I
lot
don't
in
know how
Taiwan?
much was like in the U.S.
I'm asking
We're talking about Taiwan.
Do you think it takes place a lot in Taiwan?
especially in Taipei.
What do you?
So
What are you basing
do you
that on?
yeah? Do you have any actual examples of that?
Or are you just making this up?
No, it's not mentioned. It's from some news. They said I
The
found
same
out,
news
like,
that said that the
Aliens are real.
no.
So
What's
what?
it?
What?
yeah, explain.
What are you saying? You have to explain your point. You can't just say police take bribes and then just that's it. Like, because you can say that about a lot of places, but that doesn't make it necessarily true. And
Yeah.
it also. So what's your evidence for police taking bribes? And
I just like read lots of like news articles, and then it's just like they found like they can bribe, and then when they, some of them they have some relationship with gangsters, so that if like they
Are there
do something-
gangsters in Taipei? I feel like Taipei has like no gangsters.
New Taipei City has a lot.
I'm sure there are some.
Taipei City, the suburbs.
Yeah, the subs got the gangsters. I think
And
there,
my heart's suburban.
there are almost certainly some gangsters in Taipei and in New Taipei City, but
I feel like the north
But,
is so weak
like-
on that.
yeah, I mean the South is probably worse when it comes to gangsters, but
I don't know about South. I just like only heard from. Like,
but that's what I'm saying. Do you have any like concrete like examples of this, or are you just saying in general you think this? And what is the effect of that? What do you think is the negative effect of that?
A car accident before.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just like called the police, and then they just like came like really late, and then it's like, and then he just like told me like I don't want to do my job. I just wanted like
Is that what he said to you?
yeah.
He's
so
like,
what-
hey girl,
He said-
I'm not gonna do my
I
job.
don't.
He's like, hey, he's like, oh, another car accident. Can you be careful next time? I really want to take a day off today because today is Saturday. And then in this like Saturday morning, I have like taken for like 5 car accidents already.
That's not.
So he was
that's
upset. That's not
completely
exactly
different.
the same.
You're mischaracterizing
Oh,
what he.
sorry.
So
And then you kick me.
so.
Should I call the police?
I think you should. Alright.
Another domestic violence.
Yeah. So.
And then he told me he's like, all I want to do is like to retire, but
Sounds like he's hitting on you.
It sounds like an It sounds like a.
no,
He's just kind of chatting with you. All I want to do is retire and hang out with young girls like
no.
you. Why is he telling you personal information?
I don't know. I have
He's
no
just
idea.
a weird policeman.
I think-
I was like,
I-
could you please let's like do your job and then
I think-
just want to like
well, I think-
hit his whole time.
I think part of that is just that they want to, like, the cops are friendly here. Like, for instance,
It sounds like he's chatting with you.
he's just chatting with you. He's just like, "Can you be careful? Like, I don't want to, I don't want to come out here. Ha ha ha." It's
He's
just like
got a hateful face.
Now you're being
so
racist.
this is all conjecture. But like when I went, speaking of police, there's a
face.
There's a police car outside right now, clearly. But I went to the police station to translate for some foreigner, and all the police were super nice to me. I mean, obviously, I wasn't committing a crime. Hold on.
Like you were, Abby, getting into an accident.
But, well, yeah, of course. I mean, whether or not the accident was your fault.
You're talking about when you hit the man on the motorcycle?
Yeah.
Oh,
He hit me, not I hit him.
you collided with each other at high velocity.
I stopped and then he just like bumped into me.
So was that like,
Very similar.
Alright. Anyway, so we're gonna. So what is there any? We're talking about police corruption. Are you gonna? So police are too nice.
Police are too
friendly,
nice, too weak,
Too lazy.
too fat,
Too what?
I'm like too lazy.
too white.
And every state like just like take it really slow.
Every what?
If you hang out some, or so if you report some crimes or something, or you report that there's something.
Yeah, that's a complaint that people have everywhere, Abby. That police response time is slow, the police are lazy, that they're always just cruising around eating donuts. That's like an American stereotype. It's not like a Taiwan thing.
Yeah.
Good to get your feedback.
I would rather have police be a little bit. I mean, of course, like if there's an emergency, I want them to report it, but or to respond to it quickly. But there's a difference between responding to it quickly and going to some sort of like an accident scene where no one is actually hurt. And
Well, Abby almost killed that poor motorcyclist. She tried as hard as she could, but
she couldn't
He
get it.
killed himself.
She couldn't
he
get it
didn't
done.
die.
He killed himself.
He didn't kill himself because he didn't die, Abby.
He almost killed himself because he got
Is he
hit by
okay
his
now?
own motorcycle.
Is he okay now?
I think so.
Did you go visit him?
No.
When's the last time you saw him?
It's an accident that day.
Did your mother bring him food?
We said that we can do that, and then he just said no. And then he just asked for more money later.
And then, did you give it to him?
Yeah, of course.
Why didn't you just bring him food?
I have to work.
You gave him more money later? Why?
He asked. He asked for that.
How much more?
Why
money?
didn't you say no? Do you think that it was your fault?
We don't think that it's our fault, but we got the video thing saying we handing him to the courthouse, and then he said like, alright, so 70% is your fault.
Really?
Yeah,
So it seems like it was probably your fault.
but I don't think it's my fault.
Well, what are you thinking? What the?
Oh, because they say because he's going straight. He said the new law say like going straight is they got the right of the road.
Right of
Right
way.
of way.
Or right of way. So even though it's he bumped into you. The police told me like 70% is his fault. But we go to the courthouse, the lawyer say, not the lawyer, the judge.
So you feel that the Taiwanese police don't do enough for some reason? I think I would personally say they're fine, but I haven't had too many interactions with them that were like negative on my part. So you have that one negative interaction. So what do you think about American police?
I don't think she knows anything about him.
I gotta close this door. Well,
I don't know about what.
Well, yeah, but you're hashtagging Black Lives Matter, which is a movement that I support. So why did you hashtag Black Lives Matter?
Because I feel like not like just for cops, but also like white cops. When they saw like every time they say they saw the like black people on the road or something, even if they do anything wrong, it's just like they're like treat them.
I don't think it's
bad.
only black people. I think it's poor people. Because I've been mistreated by police.
Really?
You know, yeah. And if you ever watch police brutality videos, it also, I mean, one of the most gruesome ones I saw was a white guy in Arizona. You should watch that video. I would agree with you.
yeah.
They definitely mistreat black people in a lot of circumstances. But I don't think it's racial. I think it's a police-wide attitude in the entire country that they just like basically shoot to kill. Just like if you ever feel threatened, it's okay to kill anyone in your path. I feel like that's more the mentality. Well, I would agree with you. I think the basis of the movement is also true that like.
Oh, and also like a couple days ago, that there was a black guy
Yeah.
just like being killed in his own apartment because there was
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah. So
So
lady
they
went-
came to the wrong apartment.
Yeah, she broke
Yeah.
into his house and then
She
saw him
thought, yeah, she
in
thought
his
it
own.
was
She thought it was her house and she
Yeah.
shot him to death.
well, and
ridiculous.
the most ridiculous part about that is
I
that
think she got charged though.
I don't know about the charges, but she did get fired.
Fired.
She
Got
got
fired.
fired, which is something. But she should the best case scenario is she should be
jail.
tried for manslaughter.
Yeah, because I think you shouldn't open fire unless you feel threatened for your own life. And I feel like just walking to your house and seeing somebody there, you could say, "Who are you? Get out of my house!" You don't have to just immediately pull out your gun and
Yeah.
just blast away.
or
Was she drunk?
we don't.
No, I think she's like, "Put your hands up," and he was in his own house, so of course he's like,
What the fuck?
Yeah, he's like, "You're breaking into
Yeah.
my house." Are you?
Yeah, she didn't identify herself as a police officer.
She
or
wasn't a
anything.
police officer,
She was a police officer.
was she?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's a police officer.
Well, that makes
She's
it
an
worse.
off-duty police officer.
No
She-
wonder she just immediately shot to kill.
Yeah,
She's like,
exactly.
"Black men in my house." Well,
That's the thing, though, is like that's how they're. That's a big part of the problem is that how the police officers are trained is completely is like wrong. It's just totally wrong. They're like there's videos of like the training simulators, and it's basically just people popping out of their car and like putting their hands up and then pulling out a gun, and it's like that's maybe 0.00001% of the time that will happen. And you look at all these people like Philando Castile that literally told the cop, he said, "I have a gun, I have a concealed carry permit, like I'm allowed to carry this." He's like a beloved member of the society of the community, and he's like, "I have it," and they're like, "Get your ID," and he's like going to get his ID, and they're like, "What are you reaching for?" And he's like, "You told me to get my fucking ID." And then they shoot him like multiple times, and he's just lying there bleeding. They don't call the ambulance. They don't do anything. They just let him bleed to death. It's like that is the problem with the U.S. police, is they do things like that. They go to stores and a kid is playing with a toy gun, and instead of saying, "Hey, put that down," they just start opening fire. Well,
they're overly cautious about their. I don't know. I mean, this is the debate because they think that their lives are very precious and that a criminal life should never take precedence over their own lives.
But
in
that's
that-
the thing is assuming a black person is a criminal.
Assuming that everybody who's not them is a criminal is how they think.
But that's the thing is, I agree with you that it is everyone. It is. I agree with you that poor white people are also killed by the police disproportionately. But black people are like the most disparaged group. They're much more likely to be killed by the police.
You're right. You're right. But I think the entire police culture. I don't think that you can. It's a lot easier. I would say easier. I think it's more simple to erase the violence in police response like attitudes than it is to erase ingrained racism. That's what I would say.
So what would be your proposition for what should be done?
Maybe having because most police travel with partners, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe having only one armed police out of the two officers, or maybe controlling. They don't need to carry the gun on their hip necessarily. Maybe keep the gun locked in the car. How often are they responding to situations where they need to be able to pull out a gun in half a second?
Very, very seldom, but people would argue that like, oh, what if it's locked in the car? It's the same thing that people argue about in the U.S. In the U.S. about, oh, you have the gun locked in a safe. That's why people say, oh, I don't lock my gun in a safe because like if someone breaks in, then I have to unlock it, and then I'm dead anyway. And all right, so real quick, I give you this statistic. So this is the U.S. population: 13% black, 17% Hispanic, 63% white. People killed by police while not attacking: 39% black, 12% Hispanic, and 46% white. So that's clearly disproportionate.
But that could also. I'm not arguing that police responses are not racist. But definitely police interactions with minority Americans are definitely a much higher proportion of their overall interaction.
I think that comes from being a racist system. You look at things like stop and frisk in New York. You look at the statistics on that, and most of the people they stop are black or Hispanic.
Yeah, but that's partially race and it's partially the geography because it's the neighborhoods that they control.
Do you think?
As well.
Do you think the makeup of New York is but
oh yeah, it's so segregated, man. And
it's segregated, but it wasn't for just New York's. It wasn't just for the parts of New York that are black and Latino. It's for the whole thing, and they send more cops in those places, and they send cops from not in that neighborhood.
That's a lot of that is in response to like active policing, where they'll go to areas where there's high areas of crime, and they'll send more police there, and inevitably, the interactions are going to be more frequent with
True, but I would argue that the combat to that is not to send more police in, but is to stimulate the economy in those areas and create opportunities for those people.
It's both, but I mean, it's hard to have a functioning economy in a high crime area.
But it's easy to get rid of a lot of that crime. A lot of that crime is drug crime, and that's I would argue that none of that should be illegal anyway.
Yeah, I would agree with
So
that.
you get rid of all of that. That gets rid of maybe 50% of the crime. You legalize all of it, and then none of those people are getting arrested anymore. And
Well, then
instead,
somebody should be pushing that as a solution.
I would. I think people like even Bernie Sanders would, at least for marijuana legalization. But I think you have to push that farther, and that's why people scoff at me when I say I would argue for potentially at least complete drug decriminalization. But I would push for legalization, 100% legalization of all drugs. Any mind-altering substance, legalize it. Now,
I say decriminalize.
Decriminalize is
The
fine,
extent that I would go.
but even if you go to legalization, I'm not saying legalize black tar heroin. I don't think you should legalize something like that. But you should legalize a form of that is not as dangerous. Of course it's going to be dangerous. That stuff is not good for you. But then you use the money that you're saving because you're not locking all these people up for non-violent drug offenses. You let all these people go, you stimulate the economy, you grow jobs, and then you use that money to tell people, hey, this is not good, it's addictive, but you don't lie to these people and say, this is your brain on drugs. Oh, if you smoke marijuana once, you're gonna be like stupid and like dumb. That's because that just sows discontent and distrust of the government. Because when someone tells you, oh, if you smoke weed, you're gonna get addicted. Oh, you're gonna be a bum. You're gonna be stupid. And it's like, if people do drugs, they find out that like they don't have those sorts of consequences. Someone smokes weed for the first time and they go, oh, that didn't make a difference. It didn't change anything about me. It didn't make me stupid. It didn't make me unable to do something. It just changed my consciousness a little for 30 minutes. Or if you drop acid or something, it changes your consciousness for at most like a few hours. And then you come back and you're just like, okay, yeah, that was an experience, and maybe it was a good experience, maybe it was a bad experience, but it didn't kill me. It didn't make me overdose. It didn't freak me out. A lot more people are overdosing on things that are legal. Oh, so a doctor gave me a bunch of opiates, and now I'm addicted, and now I'm banging black tar heroin and mainlining through my toes because I have a bunch of track marks on my arm. It's ridiculous, man.
It's an impassioned debate. I agree with you in the premise of it.
But anyway, I mean, getting back to like the argument about American policing, there's so much wrong with it. Training is incorrect. They train to shoot first, ask questions later. They're trained to think that their life is always in danger. And I have respect for cops. I mean, I really hope that no cops ever get hurt. I hope they never get shot. Like, I really want them to be I want them to live fulfilled lives and be happy and be okay. But they're putting themselves in a position where they're putting their lives on the line. And that's what they always say, that I'm putting my life on the line every day I go out. But they aren't. A lot of them aren't. Some of them are, but a lot of them aren't, because they say, I'm putting my life on the line, but all they do is shoot first. They shoot first, and if you shoot first, then you're not putting your life on the line because you're killing the person before you even have a chance to see what's going on. And I think that's the reason why they have Black Lives Matter, because the shooting of that disproportionately impacts African American communities, because you put those communities in positions of poverty and you sow that. And that's happened since earlier we were talking about slavery. From the issue of slavery, people of that ilk have been put in positions where they make less money, and because we don't have a decent minimum wage, we don't have unions in America, then you put them in that position. And so it just continues itself. It's just a vicious circle where they keep they're still just in poverty, and you have people gentrifying these other areas and leaving these people just to basically die. And so yeah, the police go in there and they say, yeah, there's crime in here, and they're saying, yeah, because there's no job opportunities, and I can't get a job because I have a quote unquote black name, and I can't do anything. So what am I supposed to do? And then okay, so yeah, I'm gonna sling drugs, whatever that is, whether that's weed, which is basically less dangerous than alcohol, or it's heroin, which is terrible, and I think you shouldn't do that. And I would think that it's like morally.
Well, if they decriminalize drugs, then this whole cycle might at least interrupt it.
It would get better, but at the same time, you're still gonna have people that get shot because people that have gotten pulled over for traffic offenses. You have Garland in New York City that got choked to death for quote unquote selling loose cigarettes, but he wasn't selling loose cigarettes at the time. He was not doing that. He was trying to break up a fight. And they called him in and they said, oh, this guy's been known to sell loose cigarettes. God forbid that you sell some cigarettes tax-free, let alone you have Wall Street bankers on the mass market, literally just millions and millions of dollars that they're screwing the million taxpayers out of. He's screwing them out of a couple dollars because he's trying to feed his family. And they choke him to death on the street. It's ridiculous, man. I can't agree with it. The police in America has to be completely reformed. You have to get these people... I think any even small offense, if you have any small offense as a police officer, you should be fired. I don't care. People want to whine and complain about, oh, police officers are persecuted. I don't care. Same thing with gun ownership. If you don't want to go through a long class and a process which proves that you should own a gun and a background check that proves you don't have any past of domestic violence or something like that, if you want to complain about not being able to be a police officer, not having a gun, I don't care. That's cool. You cry about that all day long, but I don't think you should be able to do that if you don't have the credentials to do it. Because clearly, we put too many people in power that just want to be bullies. They just want to do something. They want to have a badge and a gun and be a big, strong, tough guy or girl. And then that's what ends up happening is, oh, I'm the big, strong, tough guy. And then, oh, well, I shot some 6-year-old that had a BB gun. I can't deal with it anymore. It's absolutely absurd. And I don't think there's really any argument against that.
You want to take a break?
Yeah, I'm fine with taking a break.
Because Trendy imposed soon.
I'm fucking pissed off.